See, that's what I'm saying. For him to say race is not a thing here, and Mississippi has an entire history of racist acts. Guys, it's the Unfiltered Journey, and today I'm gonna do a reaction to Chris Como and Brandon Tatum's interview. I'm not gonna do the whole thing. I'm just gonna respond to some of the things that I find that I need to put my input on, and then I'm gonna keep it moving because there's some things in this interview that really grinds my gears, and I'm gonna let you guys know. But let's get it started.
You think it's about your politics, or do you think that they are worried about something that you're not showing enough concern about in their estimation?
No, a lot of these people are ignorant. They're brainwashed and emotional.
First off, that whole segment about a lot of people are ignorant and a lot of people are brainwashed, that is not the case. It seems like, Brandon, you're brainwashed and you're ignorant because even though you're saying you're taking this approach from an unbiased perspective, you're not. You're totally on these boys' side, and you're completely forgetting about the real picture, which is Nolan Wells ended up deceased. And whether it was a quote unquote drowning or not, no one has came out to say, hey, we saw Nolan, fall down, bumped his head, and he went in the water. He never came back up. No one has it's the same way you guys are saying that, oh no, there could not have been a, homicide because so many people would have seen it. That's the same exact thing you can say for a drowning. How convenient. And my thing about it is, you're talking about how people are ignorant and brainwashed, and we're not really tackling the things that you're saying. Same thing we can say about you. You're acting like racism is not a thing. And I notice that you are pushing the narrative that Black people are racist, which Black people cannot be racist. Prejudice, yes, 100% Black people can be prejudiced, but there's no way that Black people can be racist because, one, we did not create the Constitution. When the Constitution of America was created, we were considered property. The slave masters were able to get insurance on us as property. So we don't have power to be racist. And I hate that narrative that people are pushing, saying that Black people can be racist, because what's going to happen is they're going to switch everything around like they always do. They whitewash everything, making it seem like Black people are the problem and Black people are creating this whole race thing. Not one time did Nolan's parents said it was about race. Not one time. They stood up there and they said, we want to know what happened to our son. We want answers. As a matter of fact, if I recall, Nolan's mom specifically said she didn't want to make it about race. But yet you go on this interview and you said that Nolan's parents and Ben Crump made it about race when that's not true. But let's continue.
None of them are addressing actual things that I said and actual processes that I went through to interview. They do not care about the truth, or many of them would have interviewed me.
Actually, we do care about the truth. We want the truth out. Rather it was a quote unquote drowning or not, we are ready to hear the truth. Why are the state holding on to the autopsy results? Why aren't they telling everyone to relieve these boys from being, slandered in the public by saying, hey, this is a drowning. We have the results. This was the cause of Nolan's, demise. It was a drowning. We found this and this in his lungs. They have not come out to say that. They're allowing these young men to be slandered. But you're blaming it on Ben Crump and Nolan's parents. You're delusional. You're delusional. And it's sickening that you're going around telling people the opposite side is delusional, uneducated. You need to look in the mirror, buddy.
And just ask me what happened and what did I do. None of them, even those who claim to be journalists, did not give an opportunity to the other side for the other side to have a voice. They did not. And the reason why is because they're white. And
That's not the reason why. The reason why is because the history of Mississippi and how the sheriff came out and said, we suspect no foul play. The autopsy wasn't even back. Nolan's body wasn't even in the examining room. I don't even think a full 24 hours before the sheriff said that we suspect no foul play. Instead of saying this is under an investigation. We don't have a comment. But let's continue.
And a lot of them actually hate white people. And they act like they don't. Listen to their rhetoric. Listen to the things that they've said in the past. They hate white people internally. And so when a topic comes up like this and there's an
It's not hating white people. Not all people who are wanting answers for Nolan hates white people. We just want people to be held accountable. We want white people to have the same justice system as any other person. And it seems like you have rose-colored glasses on and you will not admit that white people have a privilege in this country. This country was built off free labor and stealing the land. But you want to wipe all of that away. You don't want to talk about that. But let's continue.
opportunity to paint white people with a broad brush, they take advantage of it. And I've seen it over the years. I've seen it growing up. I used to hate white people when I was growing up. That's just a part.
Him saying this is like a white person saying, I have a black friend. I have a best friend that's black. That's the equivalent of him saying this.
Part of the culture. And unfortunately, it rears its ugly head as soon as one of these incidents happen. And you've seen it time and time again. Go look at the comment section. How does young men who we don't really have any evidence that committed a crime, how do they get painted as criminals? How do they get painted as being responsible for the
Okay, name one time that you seen Christine said that these boys killed her son. Please show me any clip that Christine said that these boys kill her son. I will wait. I'll wait.
death of a person that was considered their friend? If the roles were reversed, this would be maddening.
You know what it's like to confront racism. You know it on many different levels, right? You know it as a black man. You know it as a black athlete. You know it as a black cop. You know it as a black political advocate. You know it on a lot of levels. When you met these people, their families, what did that special or if unfortunate radar that you have built into you? What was your read on these people and the vibe in this community vis-a-vis Nolan Wells?
It was incredible. They were normal people. They seemed like great families. They seemed like they raised their children right. And the interesting thing, they had nothing but great things to say about Nolan. They all were very thankful for Nolan. They were all saddened. Even some of the parents cried when we were talking about Nolan. They were very distraught that Nolan had passed away. And they all seemed like if you go to that side that I went and talked to the people on that side, they all seemed to love Nolan. This was a loss for everybody. And there was no racial animus. They all have black friends and everybody get along. Everybody that I talk to is like, no, the race is not a thing here. We all love everybody.
See, that's what I'm saying. For him to say race is not a thing here and Mississippi has an entire history of racist acts, of not being transparent. Not so long ago, don't forget, 215 people were found in a quote unquote makeshift grave behind a police station. But leave it up to Tatum. Listen to Tatum. Everything is roses and rainbows and butterflies and unicorns. For him to be a former cop or whatever he was, he does not have any discernment or investigative skills. Like they're really gonna say, oh, Tatum, we really hate Nolan Wells. We couldn't stand Nolan Wells. They're not going to tell you that. Are you dumb? Why? How would that benefit them? And why would they do that? Of course, you met their representative. Not saying that these are bad people. I'm not saying that they did anything to Nolan, but putting my investigative hat on, I'm not going to say, oh my God, these were the perfect people and da 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 da. If I'm a criminal, I'm not going to show you my hand. I'm not going to tell you I killed the person. Oh, unalive the person. But let's continue.
Everybody, Horn Island is full of a diverse group of people. We have a diverse friend group. All of these things is what is said on this side. Very welcoming. And I do not think that's the case on the other side.
Why do there have to be sides, and how do you define?
I just have something to say about this. The devil never comes to you with his horns, with his pitchfork. The devil will never come to you that way, ever. The devil is going to present himself as something good, as something beautiful, as something beneficial to you. So what is he even talking about? I mean, for this guy, I would not want him on my case at all. I understand to not have an opinion and let the evidence tell you the story, but this guy is just as biased as anybody else. Please do not be tricked by the smoke and mirrors, by the butterflies and rainbows that are coming out of his mouth. He can't even admit that the United States of America is where it is today because it benefited off of slavery. It benefited off of thievery and many other things.
Find the other side.
Well, I don't think there should be sides, but these groups have, and I would argue that Nolan's parents and Benjamin Crump have taken a side. I said this on my live stream yesterday.
They have taken a side, just like you. Just like you, Tatum, Brandon Tatum, just like you. Just like you're milking this as well with 4 and 5 and 3 and chapters and interviews when you could have just made it one interview. You know why you're not making it one interview? Because you're milking the cow. You're just on the opposite side. So stop with the madness.
I said this should have been a community effort. When your son goes missing, when Nolan's loss is a loss for everybody. It's a loss for his parents, his siblings, his family, his friends, his coach, his football team, the community at large. Everybody lost Nolan. The effort that I think should have been brought forward is
the fact that he's comparing the loss of Nolan's parents to a community loss, that shows you right there. Even though they knew Nolan, and it is a loss for them, to compare the two is crazy, crazy work. It's delulu. Losing your child can never compare to community. What somebody gave the community. They knew Nolan on a whole personal level. Like, dude, what are you even talking about? Please.
that everybody should come together to find out what happened to Nolan. These parents should be talking to these parents about who saw this boy last and what happened. That was not the case because people interjected race into this. Immediately,
By the way, the public interjected race because of the actions of the sheriff making the statement initially that it was no foul play as pretty much it's an open closed case, nothing to look at here in the history of Mississippi. Ben Crump, Christine, and Elmore Wansley did not make it about race, but here you sit on this man's podcast and say, oh, they made it about race. No, the public made it about race. Here you are painting a narrative again that benefits you and the way you think.
Nolan Wells' side says they went out with white boys. Something must have happened. The justice system is flawed.
Nope. We all were like, we need answers. We just need answers. For the sheriff to automatically say, oh, no foul play, instead of just saying, this is under investigation, we have no news on it, we would have never got to this problem. And if the sheriff department was communicating with Nolan's parents, we wouldn't be in this situation either, because Nolan's parents would have felt like they were in the loop. Christine would have felt like she didn't have to go on social media to say, my son is missing, I'm not getting answers, and none of this would have snowballed. So save that for another day.
Inevitably, because once upon a time in Mississippi, there's racial things that had happened against black people. But
Not just Mississippi. I hate that I'm stopping this, but every word that comes out of his mouth is just so annoying. It's not just Mississippi. It's the United States of America, and racism is all over the world. Keep it a book. Keep it 1000%. We are so hated on, and if black people were not hated on and we were on a level playing field, you wouldn't even hear from us. But because we still have work to do, that racism did not disappear overnight, we're going to continue to stand for what's right. Unlike somebody like you, Sambo. But let's continue.
Perpetuity, white people cannot be trusted, and everything must be a fraud because there's white people and my son is black. That to me destroyed the community.
He is putting way more on this than it needs to be. If you look at the history of black people are very forgiving as a whole. We are more forgiving to other ethnicity groups than our own ethnicity group. It's only when we keep getting slaughtered, the law is not coming through for us as it would anybody else, is when we speak up. When we feel like we don't get justice, and the only way to get justice, the only way to get our civil rights, and not just our civil rights, when we do a civil rights movement, it's for everyone, not just for black people. We have to stand up, we have to shake the table, and we have to make noise. It just is what it is.
And made it into a partisan thing or a separation thing versus a united front. And we could see that because people were telling me when I was out there interviewing people that people in the community are terrified. There's people that they think know more, but they're afraid to say anything. Because even if you didn't have nothing to do with Nolan's death, if you say, I saw him last, you could be painted as a suspect in a murder. And they will blast you and drag your name through the mud and threaten your life. You know, Chris, the young boy Trayston can't even go to a store. He went to buy a Gatorade and he said, your money's not welcome here. Black people turn their backs on Trayston, and he wasn't even really accused in this situation. And
honestly, my opinion, I do not believe that. I don't believe that. Not saying that that could not happen. I just personally don't believe that, because why would they say your money is not welcome here?
the boys warned them we're somewhere else.
Oh, and wait, and last time I checked, I don't know if the majority of people on that's in Ocean Springs are going to be discriminating that way. Not saying that it didn't happen. I just don't feel it. Anyways.
In another state, and people were screaming at them at a restaurant, kicked them out, said, say his name. What does that tell you? That tells you that the narrative has been set that they did it. It's not an open-minded scenario. It's not a we want to know what.
I don't even think it's that. I don't think it's they did it. For me, and I'm speaking for me, I feel like just the way that they moved, how they moved was just not friend-like to me. Not friend-like to me. They pretend like Nolan was their brother, quote unquote. In my opinion, their actions were not like they were moving like Nolan was their brother, quote unquote.
What happened? It's that they've painted these boys as they're criminals. And all the information that I have thus far, there is no indication whatsoever that they were even there when Nolan passed away. And I have seen video, I've seen all kinds of evidence. The police have interviewed these kids already. They've given their cell phones over to the FBI. I mean, in my opinion, based on what they've shown me, they've done everything the right way.
Is it true that one of the young men you interviewed, not Trayston, who's a black kid, by the way, obviously black kid. It's not like he has to tell you.
Trayston is biracial, but let's continue.
That he's a black kid. Warren, is it true that he actually called Nolan's mother to tell her that Nolan was missing and that he was going to call the Coast Guard?
Yes, he showed me the phone record. We actually posted on our Instagram the phone record. He showed me in his phone where he called Miss Christine first. She didn't answer the first time. He had a second call, and I think because she was asleep, he had a second call with it where the duration of the call was about 5 to 8 minutes. He talks to her on the phone, and he told me during that call that he told her, "Hey, we haven't seen Nolan. Don't panic. You know, we think that he may be hanging out with friends or whatever, but just in case, is it okay if I call the Coast Guard?" So he told me he got permission from Christine, that Nolan's mom, that he could call the Coast Guard. Then he showed me the call log.
Okay, my thing is, why would you call Christine to get her permission from her to call the Coast Guard if you thought that Nolan was with another group of friends? It just doesn't add up. Like, because I'm not gonna feel any time if I feel like my friend is with another group of friends, then I'm not gonna be suspicious because I'm gonna think he's with them. I'm not gonna be worried about calling the Coast Guard or anything like that, or finding his number, finding his mom's number, finding his mom number to call her to tell her, I haven't heard from Nolan. Have you heard from Nolan? That just seems like you're worried. Why would you be worried if Nolan's with a group of friends, his other friends, quote unquote? I just find that very odd to do that.
Where immediately after that call, it couldn't have been a minute or two after the call, he calls the Coast Guard. And he also showed me that him and the rest of the boys got up the next morning, got on a boat, and went out looking for Nolan. He also told me that he told Christine, Nolan's mother, that he had Nolan's phone and keys. And so when that information is
Okay, if that's the case, so now, according to Brandon Tatum, Nolan's parents allegedly are lying. I mean, that's literally what he just said. He literally just said that Warren told Christine that he had Nolan's phone and keys.
is presented to me, it creates a conflict in the story where he's actually showing me evidence. I haven't been able to see any evidence from the other side.
Context. When did he call Christine? When did it become a concern to Warren and maybe other friends that they didn't know where Nolan was?
Well, he explained it thoroughly in the interview, but I'll like summate it real quick.
People should watch the interview.
Yeah.
Brandon Tatum is a very well-known influencer. You know how to get to his page. The interviews are all there and accessible. But give us the short answer.
I think it was around 10 p.m. And the explanation that he gave me was that Nolan was hanging out with that girl, Katie. So they expected Nolan to be kicking it with her, hitch a ride back on somebody else's boat. They all plan to go to a central location to continue the party. But Nolan is not there. The girl that he was with shows up, but Nolan is not around. So he's now being concerned. He told me he thought Nolan may have been on somebody's couch or hanging out with somebody else. He said he didn't really know, but he'd rather be safe than sorry. So he said he wanted to call his mom before he called the Coast Guard. He wanted to call her first and get her permission, and that's what he explained to me. And like I said, he shared the text messages. So I think it was like 10 p.m., 11 p.m. on the 4th.
How do you understand the leap from curiosity to such deep concern? Because, all right, so I thought you were with her. You're not there. So first thing I would do is go up to her and say, "Where's my boy?" Now.
Okay, my thing is when everything initially popped off and initially came out, didn't they make it seem like they didn't even know who Katie was? Because they literally said Nolan went with some girl. The last time we seen Nolan, he went with some girl named Katie. As if they did not know Katie. So how now you guys have Katie's number in order to reach out to her to ask her if Nolan is with her? I just have so many questions.
Failing that, it's, well, I wonder where he is. Let's talk to other people who might know. Why go right to the Coast Guard?
Yeah, the way he explained it in the interview is that he'd rather be safe than sorry. He said they started getting information from that nobody knows where he's at, right? None of the friends that they came back with, it's like they don't have any contact with Nolan. He doesn't have his phone, so they can't call Nolan. They're contacting friends. They're asking the girl Katie, which he showed me the text messages from Katie. I didn't want to publish them without actually talking to her, interviewing her to give her context
Yeah,
around
I
her
know that
text.
was a concern of yours
Yeah,
that you wanted to
so
talk to her because,
but I
you
see
know,
I see her text message them asking her, when the last time you saw Nolan? Where is
Oh,
Nolan?
so not they not only did they talk to Katie, but they had a whole text message thread with Katie. How did they get all this information from Katie when they make it seem like they had no idea who Katie was and Katie was just some random girl that Nolan decided to stay back on the island with?
Do you know who he's with? What did he get on another boat? They asking her all these questions. They're trying to find out, does anybody know where Nolan is at? And what he told me in the interview is that people they drown out there. People die out there on that island. So there was a slight concern, but he did tell me that he thought Nolan may.
Okay, now in Warren's first interview, which he literally backtracked himself in the same interview. He stated that, oh, nothing never happened to me like that before. But then in the same token, he said people drown out there all the time. Which one is it, Warren? Which one is it? Do people not normally do that, or do they normally do that? I'm just a little confused.
Have been just couch surfing, hanging out with some girl or something of that nature, and may have not, wanted to respond the next day. But he said he did not want to. He better be safe than sorry because that's his friend, and he couldn't live with himself if something had happened and he never did anything.
from your read on the text, was Katie forthcoming and helpful?
Yeah, it appears she was forthcoming. It appeared that she had gaps in her memory. Obviously, these kids out here having a good time, so I think she didn't remember everything as clear. But she did say a few things that I think gives some idea of whether the boys were telling the truth. Because you got to think, I'm looking at a text message where they don't know each other, and they're asking her questions, and she's giving them responses with somebody she don't know, and they don't know her, so it's not coerced. And she said that she heard them yell, Nolan get on the boat. She said Nolan did not get on the boat, and Nolan did not get on the boat he came in on, which would have been Wyatt's boat that was getting towed out. But then she goes on to say, she had a gap in her memory, and she don't know what happened to Nolan afterwards.
Okay, so they didn't know Katie. Okay, so now I want to know how they got Katie's number. How did they get Katie's number to literally have a whole text message thread with Katie? So somebody had to know Katie.
Thought he was going to go with his friends, but he never did.
So he didn't stay and hang out with her, as far as you know.
As far as what she said, he didn't. Other people are saying, which they could be conflating her with another girl. I'm not sure. But people are saying closer to around 6, they saw him and another girl.
Not
in
her.
the water. They don't know. They don't know if it's Katie or not. I don't think the people who saw him knew who he was with, but he was with a girl.
None of this is making sense to me, because what in the first interview that Warren did with Tatum, didn't he say that Nolan was beside the boat cradling Katie when they left him because they yelled, Nolan, get on the effing boat. So that means when they left the island, Nolan was still with Katie, according to what Warren has stated in his first interview. Am I missing something?